Every World Cup creates new heroes, but every World Cup also closes doors. And in 2026, 5 of the biggest football stories of the last 20 years may be reaching their final page. Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Luka Modric, Neymar, Harry Kane. 5 players, 5 nations, 5 different versions of greatness. Most fans will think this story is about age. Messi is 38, Ronaldo is 41, Modric is 40, Neymar is 34. Kane is 32, but age is not the most shocking number here. Together, these 5 players enter the 2026 World Cup with 864 international appearances, 446 international goals, and only 1 World Cup winners' medal between them. That means 4 of the defining footballers of this era are still chasing the one trophy that refuses to complete their story. This is not nostalgia. This is pressure measured in decades. And by the end of this tournament, one of them may prove that the final chapter is not about who was greatest. It is about who still has enough left to change history. For Messi, the question is not whether he can prove himself anymore. He already lifted the trophy in Qatar. The question is whether he can give Argentina one final golden image, the champion defending his crown before walking away. For Ronaldo, it is the one missing trophy, the one mountain he has climbed toward for 2 decades without ever reaching the top. For Modric, it is the miracle that almost happened in 2018, nearly happened again in 2022, and somehow still refuses to die. For Neymar, it is Brazil's most complicated love story. The talent was never in question. The body, the timing, and the weight of expectation always were. And for Kane, it is England's great unfinished sentence. The captain, the scorer, the record breaker is still chasing the moment that turns numbers into national immortality. Before we break down each last dance, like this video, comment which player has the most pressure in 2026, and subscribe to FIFA First Touch if you want football stories that go deeper than the final score. Because this tournament is not just about who can still play, it is about who can still carry a nation when the whole world knows time is running out. Lionel Messi, the last crown. Most players spend their careers trying to win the World Cup once. Messi enters 2026 with a strange burden. He already won it, and that changes everything. In 2014, the image was painful. Messi walking past the trophy in Brazil, close enough to see it, not close enough to touch it. For years, that picture followed him everywhere. Every Copa America defeat, every comparison to Maradona, every debate about greatness came back to one empty space in his cabinet. Then Qatar changed the story. Argentina won. Messi lifted the trophy. The debate for many fans finally ended. But 2026 creates a new kind of pressure. Not the pressure to validate a career, the pressure to protect the perfect ending. Internationally, Messi comes into this World Cup with 198 appearances, 116 goals, and a record of 126 wins, 43 draws, and 29 losses for Argentina. Those numbers are not just statistics, they are a map of nearly an entire football lifetime. The misconception is that Messi has nothing left to win. That sounds true, but it is not, because the chance to defend a World Cup is rarer than winning one. The chance to lift it twice as the emotional center of Argentina would move him from legend to something even harder to describe. But Argentina does not need the same Messi from 2014. They do not even need the same Messi from 2022. They need the version of Messi who understands moments. The version that can walk for 5 minutes, then destroy a defensive shape with one touch. The version that does not need volume anymore because his value is precision. The version who sees the pass before everyone else sees the danger. That is what makes this last chance fascinating. Argentina is no longer a team begging Messi to save them. They are champions with structure, confidence, and a core that knows how to suffer. Emiliano Martinez, Rodrigo De Paul, Alexis Mac Allister, Enzo Fernandez, Lautaro Martinez. This is not a one-man rescue mission anymore, and that might be Messi's greatest advantage. For the first time, he may be able to play a World Cup without carrying the entire emotional weight of Argentina alone. But there is a catch. When you are Messi, even freedom has pressure. Every camera still follows him. Every touch still feels historic. Every limp, every missed training session, every substitution creates panic. And that is why 2026 is not just Messi's last chance to win again. It is his last chance to leave the World Cup on his own terms. Not as the boy who almost touched the trophy. Not as the man who finally won it, but as the champion who came back one last time and dared football to write an ending even bigger than the one it already gave him. Cristiano Ronaldo, the trophy that never bowed. Cristiano Ronaldo has won almost everything football can offer. League titles, Champions Leagues, Ballon d'Ors, European Championship glory, Nations League glory, scoring records that look like they were created for a video game. But the World Cup has never belonged to him. That is the brutal truth behind Ronaldo's 2026 story. He enters this tournament with 227 caps, 143 goals, and an international record of 138 wins, 52 draws, and 37 losses. He is the highest scoring men's international player ever. He has played across generations, systems, managers, and entire tactical eras. And yet, the World Cup still looks at Cristiano Ronaldo and says, not yet. For most players, that would be a painful detail. For Ronaldo, it is the detail, because his entire career has been built on attacking the one thing people say he cannot do. Too skinny. He became a machine. Only a winger. He became a complete forward, declining. He reinvented himself as a box predator. Finished? He kept scoring. But the World Cup does not care about reputation. It does not care how hard you train, how many records you break, or how loudly the crowd chants your name. It only gives you 7 games if you are lucky. And at 41, Ronaldo may not need to be Portugal's entire system anymore. That is the part fans need to understand. Portugal's advantage in 2026 might be that Ronaldo does not have to play like the Ronaldo of 2014 or 2018. This team has technical quality everywhere. Bruno Fernandes can create. Vitinha and João Neves can control tempo. Rafael Leão can stretch defenses. Gonçalo Ramos can threaten space. Portugal has the kind of depth that previous Ronaldo-era teams often lacked. So the real question is not, can Ronaldo still be the star? The question is, can Portugal use him correctly? Can he be the killer in moments instead of the engine for 90 minutes? Can he accept that the smartest version of himself may be more dangerous than the most active version? Can Portugal build attacks that use his gravity, his movement, and his finishing without becoming predictable? That is the tactical line Roberto Martinez has to walk, because every defender still knows where Ronaldo is. Even when he is quiet, he bends attention. Even when he is not touching the ball, he changes how centre-backs stand, how full-backs tuck in, and how midfielders protect the box. That kind of fear is still valuable, but fear alone does not win a World Cup. At some point, Ronaldo will probably get one chance that feels bigger than the match itself. A header at the back post, a penalty under impossible noise, a loose ball in the 6-yard box. And when that moment comes, the entire weight of 20 years will be standing behind him. Portugal does not need Ronaldo to be young again. They need him to be inevitable one final time. Luka Modric. The small nation that refuses to disappear Croatia is not supposed to keep doing this. That is what makes Luka Modric's World Cup story feel almost impossible. Croatia is a small nation compared to football's giants. They do not have the population of Brazil, England, Argentina, or Portugal. They do not have endless waves of superstar depth. But somehow when the World Cup arrives, Croatia becomes one of the most uncomfortable teams on earth. In 2018, they reached the the final. In 2022, they reached the semi-finals and finished third, and through all of it, one man stood in the middle, controlling the temperature of chaos: Luka Modric. He enters the 2026 World Cup with 198 caps, 29 goals, and an international record of 104 wins, 51 draws, and 43 losses. Those numbers are absurd for a midfielder from a nation of Croatia's size, but Modric's greatness has never been about goal volume. It has been about control. He does not dominate matches by overpowering them. He dominates them by making them slower when everyone else is panicking. He receives under pressure, turns his hips, and suddenly the entire field changes shape. That is why Croatia keeps surviving tournaments. They are not always faster. They are not always deeper. They are not always more explosive, but they are comfortable in discomfort. And Modric is the symbol of that. The misconception is that age should make him less useful in a World Cup. But in knockout football, where panic ruins teams, experience can be a weapon. Modric knows how to suffer. He knows how to take the sting out of a match. He knows when to keep the ball, when to play forward, and when to force the opponent to chase shadows. Still, 2026 is different. At 40, every sprint costs more. Every recovery takes longer. Every physical duel becomes a calculation. Croatia's opponents will know this. They will press him. They will try to trap him. They will try to turn his genius into exhaustion. And that is where the last opportunity becomes so emotional, because Modric already came painfully close. In 2018, Croatia reached the final, but France had too much. In 2022, Croatia survived Brazil on penalties, only to fall before the last step. Those runs made Modric immortal in Croatian football, but they did not give him the trophy. Now, the question is whether Croatia has one more tournament of defiance left. Maybe they are too old. Maybe the squad is stretched too thin. Maybe the magic finally runs out. But that is what people said before. And Croatia has built an entire World Cup identity around punishing anyone who thinks the story is over. For Modric, 2026 is not about proving he belongs. It is about asking one final question. Can a nation that keeps refusing logic give its greatest player the only ending even logic says should be impossible? Neymar. Brazil's most complicated dream. Neymar's Brazil story has never been simple. With some players, a nation either loves them or doubts them. With Neymar, Brazil has done both at the same time. He enters 2026 with 128 caps, 79 goals, and an international record of 91 wins, 25 draws, and 12 losses. He is Brazil's all-time top scorer. He has carried the number 10. He has produced moments of genius that only a handful of players in history could even imagine. And still, his World Cup legacy feels unfinished. For Brazil, the World Cup is not just a tournament, it is part of national identity. But Brazil has not won it since 2002. That means an entire generation has grown up with Brazil as the most famous football nation in the world, but not the most recent world champion. Neymar was supposed to change that. In 2014, injury took him out before the semi-final. Brazil collapsed without him. In 2018, he returned with the pressure of a nation and the scrutiny of the world. In 2022, he scored a beautiful extra-time goal against Croatia, a goal that felt like the moment. Then Croatia equalized. Then penalties happened. Then Neymar never even got to take his kick. That is the image that still haunts this story. Not because Neymar failed at that moment, but because football did not even let him touch the final decision. Now comes 2026, and the question is no longer whether Neymar is talented enough. That question has always been ridiculous. The question is whether his body, role, and team context can finally align. With Neymar, the tactical element is subtle. He does not have to dribble through 5 players every time. He does not have to be the entire attack. Sometimes his greatest value is gravity. When Neymar receives between the lines, defenders hesitate. Midfielders collapse, fullbacks tuck inside, space appears somewhere else. That is how Brazil can use him now. Not just as the star who must solve everything, but as the player who changes the geometry of the field. But that requires discipline from Brazil. They cannot become addicted to giving him the ball and waiting for magic. They cannot let nostalgia pick the system. They need balance, runners, defensive cover, and a plan for when Neymar is targeted physically. That is why this last chance feels so fragile, because Neymar is both Brazil's greatest weapon and biggest question. He can unlock a match with one touch. He can also become the emotional center of everything, for better or worse. But maybe that is what makes his story so compelling. Neymar's career has always lived between beauty and chaos, and if Brazil finally wins it with him in 2026, the conversation around his entire international legacy changes instantly. No more what if, no more almost, no more he should have. Just Neymar, Brazil, and the trophy that has been missing from the country's hands for 24 years. Pause here and comment on your honest take. Which last dance would change football history the most? Ronaldo finally winning it, Neymar ending Brazil's drought, Modric completing Croatia's miracle, Kane ending England's wait, or Messi defending the crown. And while you are here, like the video and subscribe to FIFA First Touch for more deep football stories like this. Harry Kane, the English burden. Harry Kane's World Cup pressure is different from everyone else on this list. Messi already knows what winning the trophy feels like. Ronaldo carries a personal legacy. Modric carries a small nation's impossible dream. Neymar carries Brazil's artistic burden. Kane carries England. And England's burden is heavy because it is not just about football. It is history, media, expectation, songs, jokes, trauma, hope, collapse, repeat. Kane enters 2026 with 113 caps, 79 goals, and an international record of 74 wins, 21 draws, and 18 losses. He is England's all-time leading scorer. He has been the face of the national team through deep tournament runs. World Cup semi-final, Euro final, another Euro final. Always close enough to believe, always far enough to hurt. And then there is the moment everyone remembers. France. 2022. Penalty spot. Chance to equalise. Kane had already scored one penalty that night. Then came the second. He stepped up. He struck it. And the ball flew over the bar. That moment did not erase his greatness. But it became part of his story because World Cups are cruel like that. They do not judge careers fairly. They judge moments forever. The misconception is that Kane's England legacy is only missing a trophy. It is deeper than that. Kane has given England goals, leadership, consistency, and a tactical identity. He is not just a striker who finishes. He drops deep. He links play. He turns wingers into runners. He creates space for midfielders. He allows England to attack in layers instead of just straight lines. That is why replacing him is so difficult. England can bring speed. England can bring young talent. England can bring stars from the Premier League and beyond. But no one else gives them Kane's exact blend of scoring, passing, timing, and emotional authority. That makes him essential. It also makes England vulnerable, because if Kane is marked out, injured, or forced too deep, England can lose their reference point. If he drops to create, who attacks the box? If he stays high, who connects the midfield to the forward line? If opponents block the central lanes, can England adjust quickly enough? Those are the questions that decide knockout matches. And unlike some of the others, Kane does not have 4 or 5 World Cups behind him as a teenage prodigy turned elder statesman. His window has been more compressed, but the pressure is just as intense. Because for England, winning in 2026 would not just complete Kane's story, it would rewrite 60 years of national frustration. No player wants to be remembered only as the man who nearly did it. Kane has the numbers. He has the role. He has the armband. Now he needs the image. The one England has been waiting for since 1966. Harry Kane, hands on the trophy. No more what-ifs. 5 last dances, 1 trophy, 5 players, 5 stories, but only 1 World Cup. That is what makes 2026 so brutal. Messi is trying to protect the perfect ending. Ronaldo is trying to complete the only empty space in his empire. Modric is trying to give Croatia the miracle they have spent 8 years threatening to make real. Neymar is trying to turn beauty, pain, and pressure into Brazil's long-awaited 6th star. Kane is trying to turn England from a country of almost into a country of finally. And the cruel part is that most of them will leave disappointed. That is not disrespectful. That is the World Cup. It does not care how many goals you scored before arriving. It does not care how many trophies you won at the club level. It does not care about your highlight reel, your fan base, your legacy debates, or your farewell tour. It cares about 1 month, one mistake, one injury, one bounce. That is why this tournament matters so much, because for younger stars, 2026 may be the beginning. For Messi, Ronaldo, Modric, Neymar, and Kane, it feels like the last page they can still write themselves. And maybe that is the real beauty of this World Cup. It is not just about seeing who still has the legs. It is about seeing who still has the nerve. When the stadium is loud, the body is tired, and the entire nation is waiting. Which legend can still make the game bend? Which player gets the ending football owes him? And which one learns one final time that football does not owe anyone anything? This has been FIFA First Touch. Like the video if you want more documentary-style football stories. Comment which of these 5 players you most want to see lift the World Cup. And subscribe, because all tournament long, we are breaking down the stories behind the moments everyone else only reacts to. The last dance is here, and this time, there may be no next World Cup.